record. On the record. Council agenda, Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Township Council agenda meeting of March 13th, 2018.
Posting of notice. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting in the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building and on the municipal website on December 20th, 2017, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the Newark Star Ledger on December 27th, 2017, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers on December 20th, 2017.
Okay, council meetings are videotaped and aired in public access, Channel 21 at 7 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net. Please rise for the flag salute. Mr. DePiero, if you would.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DePiero,
here.
Ms. Grignani,
Present.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Here.
Mrs. Peterson,
Here.
Mr. Carriffy.
Here.
Also in attendance are Business Administrator Ellen Sandman, Township Attorney Jim Lott, and Township Clerk Colette Madden. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Okay, upcoming meetings, March 20th, 2018 at 7:30 p.m., regular meeting, and April 3rd, 2018 at 7:30 p.m., agenda meeting. Approval of minutes, annual reorganization meeting, January 1st, 2018, agenda meeting, January 2nd, 2018, regular meeting, January 23rd, 2018. Presentations, reports, Mayor, Township Council, anything?
I have one item, if I may read into
Yes.
the record. Several weeks ago in closed session, the council was informed that Aurora would not be representing the township at the James Carriffy trial. With no expert witness to represent the township, we had no case, and legal counsel recommended that we settle. This bothered me, and I contacted Aurora. I spoke to Matt Ferrante to inform him that I was very upset with Aurora. He told me that he was not only willing to testify, he was looking forward to submitting his findings to the court. At the very least, he could have been subpoenaed to testify. He was willing to sign an affidavit to that effect. This is the first time in my 40 years as an elected official that legal counsel misinformed me in closed session. I needed to state this for the record.
Mr. President, if I may, please. I have mentioned at previous closed-door sessions that information given to us by legal counsel was very much different than what we were being told now. Based upon Councilman DePiero's conversation with Matt Ferrante of Aurora, I feel that I was not provided with accurate information in our closed-door session. At that meeting, I now believe I was misinformed. Therefore, with this new information, my vote would have been different. My vote would have been a no. I would like my vote to be rescinded. I also need to state this for the record. Thank you.
Mr. President, in light of the comments made by two council members, I would suggest that we have a closed session at the next meeting with Mr. Parikh, so we can sort through those allegations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Township Attorney?
I think at the next meeting, we'll have an ordinance, a draft ordinance to be discussed concerning potential change in conditional use standards with respect to service stations.
Thank you. Business Administrator?
A few items. One, as you know, unless required, our finance officer does not come. But I wanted to let you know that she's always working, trying to find where there can be monies, not that they come easily, but she negotiated with Provident Bank and was able to get very good rate on the CD. $3 million will be invested at 2.5%, which is in 1 year $61,500. And I just thought that had such relevance that somebody might say, well, what's $61,000? Well, it's coming in the right direction, and every $61,000 does make a difference. And
Agreed.
she was able to push back on another bank that said, oh, no, we can't come up with it. Well, she said, well, I got it from Provident. So we may be able to find another $2 million that the other bank will give us the same rate. So those kinds of things really make a difference, and you just have to be out there. You don't wait for them to come to you. You have to go out and seek it. There are items on the agenda. This is a work agenda. However, people from Craftman Farms are here. A lot of what is on the meeting, if you have special questions, certainly ask. We will probably have representation at the next meeting as well. But a lot of it's pro forma. It's just moving monies that are already in existence that have been dedicated for Craftman Farms so that they can put together a better agenda of what they need to, not agenda, but what the spending plan would be, so that they can meet their needs and address certain issues that come up. With regard to where the bid section is, tomorrow, you may or may not know that there will be the walkthrough at the Knoll for the clubhouse management and operation, and that the award after that, and they have an opportunity to put in their bid proposals. The award will be during the second meeting in April. So we're looking forward to that. One other thing is with regard to matching funds, I just want to go on record as resolution under the consent agenda. There's a total of $322,000 that we've been receiving from the grants that we pursue for the Smith Baldwin House. We do have a match of $64,000, which has been provided out of the open space. So I think that's a pretty good match that we received the 322. I think
That's number one, Ellen?
it's number one on your consent agenda.
And what was the amount?
The amount is
300?
$322,580, and there was a match of $64,516.
That's great.
I think it is, and I think that's all I have. Budgets, we're finalizing both the revenue side and the appropriation side. We had our final meeting with the mayor, and we'll be looking forward to working with the council and getting our budget done in a more timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Township Clerk?
No report at this time, Council President. Thank you.
Okay, Township offices, committees, reports? Anything?
No, thank you.
No, nothing.
Okay. Engineering report, FEMA hazard mitigation grant project. All construction-related work is complete. We have submitted 7 requests for reimbursement, the total amount of $5,698,876.64. To date, we have received reimbursements totaling $5,339,738.97. No council action required. Road improvement projects, all unfinished road improvement projects have been stopped for the winter. Work will continue in the spring once there is more favorable weather. New improvement projects are in design and will be ready for bidding over the next few months. No council action required. Roadway improvements projects in design. The following major projects are in design and will be ready for bid in the spring. Lake Parsippany Streets, PH 6, Mount Tabor Streets, PH 3, Moraine Area Streets, PH 2, Old Bluefield Ave, PH 1, no road improvements, and a 2018 road resurfacing program.
Council President,
Yes.
regarding the road improvements, it's my understanding that the engineering department works on a 5-year schedule. They go out and prioritize repairs and construction on roads on 5-year intervals. Would it be possible for them to periodically give us a list of the 5-year things? So many times we get asked,
Absolutely.
when is my road going to be
Right.
done, kind of a thing. It'd
Yep.
be nice if we don't have to all call every time. We have a list to reference.
Yes. Ellen,
We can provide that list, and one of the things, the first list that you'll be provided will be at the budget hearing. We'll make sure that, and then it's a continuous basis.
Great.
And one other thing, just that you raise it, just so you realize, sometimes the list does change based on what could happen on a particular street. But that's just, normal,
I understand it's a
occurrences.
living thing and it
Yes, it is, very
constantly
living,
changes.
yes,
Okay.
and sometimes bad things happen on good streets. I haven't had a lot of sleep, I don't know.
All right. Okay, bids taken, March 1st, 2018, resurface tennis courts for the Parsippany Parks Department. To be taken, March 15th, 2018, supply and installation of new 75-foot aerial tower and platform body for approved equivalent on a township-supplied new Internationals 7400 chassis for the Park and Forestry Department. Quotations, proposals, qualifications, March 28th, 2018, request for proposals for clubhouse management and operation services at the Knoll Country Club. Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Second. Second.
You make
I'll make the
Make a
mo-
motion.
All right, I'll second her
sorry.
motion.
Motion
Aye.
made by Mrs. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open to the public.
If you come up, please state your name and address, sign in. You'll be given 5 minutes.
Thank you. I noticed that there's a resolution in the
Oh,
consent
please.
agenda.
Just state
that-
your name and
Oh,
address.
I'm sorry, Ken Dolsky, 21 Winfield Drive. I noticed you have a resolution in the consent agenda expressing the township's opposition to the proposed legislation to permit recreational use of marijuana. And as I stated at the last meeting, I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but rather than just put this in here as a almost trivial, everybody agrees, let's pass this, I would like to see that the town has done some thoughtful due diligence on this issue. Now, I realize it's a resolution. We're not making laws. We're not necessarily even affecting whether or not this gets passed at the state level. But it may come down to, townships having to take a stand one way or the other. And what I would appreciate seeing from the town council is some analysis, some thoughtful analysis on this issue. There've been a lot of information published, and especially in the Star Ledger on Sundays. I'm sure there's tons of information out there. And I'd like to see what the pros and cons are that the town's council has considered, and the net out of that, and how they came to the conclusion that we should oppose it. So I'm just asking, I'm not saying, I'd like to see this taken off the agenda for tonight, and I'd like to see the thoughtful process that the council went through to come to this decision. So that's all I'm asking for is, what did you do to decide on this, rather than you just kind of slip it in here and everybody just agrees and there's no debate on it or anything like that. Thank you.
Council President,
Yes.
I was going to ask that item 3, which is the topic he's talking about, be removed from the consent agenda. I was going to ask if it's appropriate for me to read that resolution tonight or wait until next week's meeting to read it. I think it's important enough that we should read. I want to read the entire resolution.
We can do that when we get to the non-consent. We'll pull it off then.
We
and then
can
you
pull
do
it off then for next week,
Right.
but should I read it tonight since there's a question on it? It's your call, you're the president.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we can do it now, or we can do it when you pull it off, if you want to read it then.
Okay,
Okay?
tonight,
Yes.
okay.
So what we'll do is when we get to the consent, I just want to acknowledge for the record it'll be moved to non-consent, and then Councilmember DePiero can just read the resolution.
Yes, when we get there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe it'll be helpful.
Mary Przicki, 273 Marcella Road. Tonight I thought of coming here with more statistics on the effects of recreational marijuana in states that have legalized it. The statistics are valid by reputable institutions. And I truly hope you, the council people, have done your homework as suggested by the gentleman who was ahead of me, as he did ask for that at the last council meeting, which I think you people should do your due diligence. But you, like I, would have then found the following: that the National Institute on Drug Abuse stated nearly 1 in 3 individuals who use marijuana may have some dependency on marijuana use disorder, and nearly 1 in 10 marijuana users will become addicted. This was compiled by Andia Sidami, medical director of the Network for Therapy. Dr. Jethro James, senior pastor of Paradise Baptist Church in Newark, also president of the Newark, North Jersey Committee of Black Churchmen, plus the New Jersey Legislature Black Caucus, which includes 19 Democrat members, have expressed concerns about the negative impact of legalization that could have an effect on the black community. The New Jersey State Association of Chief of Police issued a statement announcing its opposition to the legalization of marijuana, and their statement is valid and factual. I hope you had a chance to find it. The Auto Club of America, AAA, heard drug experts and representatives from 8 states which legalized marijuana and a few of the border states. The AAA concluded that it's not in favor of legalizing marijuana, and you can find all of those stats in their newsletter. I can go on and on, but 5 minutes goes very quickly. In closing, I would like to add that in the 1930s, when cigarettes became, the rage to do, wouldn't it have been nice if the people then stopped and thought what happened? Because how many of you here tonight know people who got lung cancer from cigarettes? And it is an addiction. Cigarette smoking, whether you like it or not, is a dependency. The same thing if in the 1990s people would have looked at opioids better as painkillers, would we be in this situation that we are now? Do we need another vice, you want to call it, that 50 years from now, you sitting there, if you're still there, well, probably not going to be here, but some of you sitting here and in the audience might be, and then you say, why didn't they look at what happens? I mean, marijuana, it's a even though people disagree, it can become addictive. And do we need another addiction? Do we need another dependency? Stop it while we can. Say no, because this is based on greed. The greed of the growers and the greed of politicians who think they can solve their problems by taxes. Yeah, they tax cigarettes, but did they solve their problems? No, because most of that money is being spent on health use. So think of that. Think of the future generations when you go and you vote on this. And then for the environmental people out there, there was a very interesting thing that it's 6 gallons of water for 1 plant of marijuana. Now, if you've got a water concern...
Mary, 30 seconds. Okay.
30 seconds. Environmentally, the state of California is going dry, and they would be the major growers. So think about who the lobbyists are being paid by, and should it affect the future generations of our young people? That's what's important here. okay? And I only got 5 seconds, but thanks to the road department, because the day after the snowstorms, you saw blacktop on that road. And let me tell you, those public work people really work hard at it, and I think they do a good job.
I have to
Thank
agree,
you.
Mary. I also feel that our Parks and Forestry Department
Yeah, all
did a
of them.
super job with the trees, and yes, we are very fortunate to have conscientious workers and men that are in those positions to help the township. Thank
Yeah,
you.
everything I heard from people that I spoke to was highly complimentary of how it was handled. So, yeah, I think they did a great job.
3 years ago, when we had the last power outage, that was significant. Our Parks and Recreation folks wanted to get permission from JCP&L to be trained. JCP&L trained them so they could remove hot wires away from trees. Sometimes it's the chicken and the egg. Trees are blocking the road, so the power company can't get in, but there's power lines there so the Parks and Forestry can't cut the tree down. It's a chicken and an egg. And to expedite matters, I thought it would have been a great idea, train some of our Parks and Forestry people in electrical safety so they could remove wires and expedite getting the trees out of the way, so the power company could expedite getting service back up and running. It made all kinds of sense, but JCP&L did not like the idea.
Hi, Julia Peterson, 25 Old Parsippany Road. I've been thinking a lot about the marijuana thing, just because I was thinking about it, and I think that everybody has kind of a personal view. One of the things I think is that in this town, there are 55,000 people, and we don't have the slightest idea what all those individuals think about this. So I agree that it would be nice if we had some kind of an idea about it. I do think that maybe some of them voted the way they did because it wasn't a big issue for them. For me, one of the biggest issues about marijuana, and I would like to call it decriminalization, comes from my former life as an inner city teacher in Rochester, New York. And this was a long while ago, but the number of families, the marijuana use is kind of...
Is she all right?
Mic drop, yeah. It's equally used by all populations. But strangely enough, middle-class populations and above, and Caucasian populations don't end up in prison for it. People in cities, for minor use, end up in prison. Teenagers end up in prison because they can't get legal representation. So this is maybe, I don't know whether this is an issue here or not. That's something I don't know. But I know in cities, of which New Jersey has some, and as governor of the state, I would certainly be looking at the amount that we're paying to keep people in prison who have used recreational marijuana. As I say, I don't like the term recreational. I like the term decriminalization, because what I observed was families, you know, once your dad or your mom goes to jail, then that means that you don't have anything to eat. So that's, I think, a big thing to think about, not in the broad sense. I mean, that's a broad thing to think about. The other thing I think is that when the state goes ahead and does something, they're going to do it. It doesn't look to me like it's very supported in the legislature. And I don't know whether it's the role of local government to be making moral decisions about what people do and don't do. I mean, back to the 30s, it's true, in the 29s and 30s was when alcohol was illegal. Alcohol was criminal. And we have now a lot of alcoholics, but you can use alcohol the way you choose to, and whether you should be able to choose to use marijuana. The other thing is that I think for medical use, the fact that there are only 6 dispensaries in the whole state was kind of awful. And people, I don't know many people that I've talked to about it, but some people had to go to Montclair when they weren't feeling very well to get the marijuana that they were prescribed. So those are all things that I thought about when I think about it, and I'm glad that I don't have to be one of 5 people making a decision for 55,000 people. I'm relieved I don't have to. And I do thank all of you for thinking hard about it. because we all have our own personal stories that go along with this. Thank you.
Yeah, you still had a minute left.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to urge the council to do, sorry, I almost forgot. When something is being applied for a zoning change, in many places, the person applying, the entity applying, has to put up a sign that says, applying for a zoning change, hearing, blah. And that gives the people that are driving by there a chance to say, oh, because people don't really follow it anyplace else. And it's really a good way for people to kind of keep clued in about what's happening.
Just on the requirement to post signs, there has been some New Jersey land use litigation that has found that those requirements to have property owners post signs are inconsistent with the notice provisions of the municipal land use law.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, right, and that, that's probably better addressed at the state legislature because, they're the ones who could amend the land use law to permit that type of notice.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
My name's Barbara Seaman, 360 Halsey Road. On the marijuana issue, there's a lot of pros and cons. You legalize it, you put your low-end dealers out, okay? So they'll move up. It is a gateway drug. Alcohol's a gateway drug. Kids today, 12 years old, are smoking pot. By the time they're 14, they're shooting a $4 bag of heroin. And you have to get rid of the seed to kill the plant. And addiction is a horrible disease, and yeah, you're gonna put a kid in, jail for having a joint, okay? His mother's gonna spend $20,000 on a lawyer, so who made the money? The lawyer. The kid's still gonna come out and smoke the pot. The problem is what do we all have set up for the disease of addiction? Are there rehabs here? Can we afford to sponsor a rehab or donate money to a rehab? Marijuana is only the beginning, and it's just gonna grow and grow and grow. An addict will do anything. They will drink, they will smoke pot, they'll do a line of coke. They say the only state that says it's true is Vermont, and it's a heroin addiction. Because at $35 a pill, and you need 10 of them to get high, it's cheaper to shoot 2 bags of pure heroin at $10. And I am just totally against it because of the fact nobody's looking where the bigger plant is gonna grow. You have to kill the seed. And the statistics are all there, and you know what? We probably all smoked pot in the 70s. Okay, we didn't inhale, as Clinton would say. But the pot today is not the pot of years ago.
Absolutely.
And the fact is, I could smoke a joint, you could smoke a joint, you could smoke a joint. Hey, guess what? I got a job, I'm not getting high anymore. Well, now I'm looking for somebody to smoke a joint with, and introduces me to the line of cocaine. So it always goes, your friends go with the drug of choice. And you have to kill the seed. And that's why I'm against this. Thank you. I'm sorry if I went over.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
I thought Pat was going to get up. Nick Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. Just very briefly on marijuana, there's so many psychological and social mechanisms that attribute any certain individual to addiction. But I find it bizarre that people my age and older are equating marijuana with opiates and heroin. I'm sorry, but they may be in the criminal element because they were forced that way, but to equate marijuana with opiates is, I'm sorry, it's just wrong. But it's like, if it's decided on a state level, and with all these empty office spaces and everything Parsippany has, if somebody wanted to sell marijuana, well, then you're making good use of the space and you're obeying the state laws. And I wouldn't really worry. I never heard of anybody doing anything violent or really bizarre, dangerous when they're smoking. It's not like drinking and driving. And I always say, well, what do we call those little bottles we get at the liquor store that everybody's driving around flipping out? Is that recreational alcohol? Maybe we should ban not alcohol, but recreational alcohol. I mean, you know, you can't, if you're gonna you're gonna call it addiction, then you have to look at the whole scope. You can't just marijuana and prejudiced marijuana. And marijuana does come from Mother Nature. It's not plastic, doesn't come from a laboratory, and all drugs, including opiates, are derivatives of nature, and they're made for a purpose to aid some kind of a human ailment. But all of it can be found in nature. I'd like to say one word about the Aurora thing, if I may. I remember that the Aurora company was found to be a fraudulent company and had no license to operate. And I wouldn't trust anything anybody from Aurora said to me in relation to what they brought this township to under the tutelage of Mr. Inglesino. So if Aurora is out of the picture, if they really wanted to be subpoenaed, I'm sure they could be subpoenaed. They probably don't want to be because they didn't have a license to operate. And what did they accomplish? Absolutely nothing. Anything that they were looking for could have been found replicated in the police computer. Nothing vanished anywhere. All that information is still where it always was, in a backup computer. Every policeman has a backup computer. Everything he does is replicated in the department. So I wouldn't, the Aurora thing is I just remembered they didn't have a license to operate. And, all right, I'll leave it at that, but I just think it's trivial pursuit, the whole thing with the marijuana. Let the state handle it. They pass it or they don't. But Parsippany, and like I said, let's fill up some of these empty spaces. Let's have a pot store in Parsippany. And if you go there, you go there. If you don't, you don't. What's the big deal, right? It's a free country, right? Maybe it's a little bit too free, right? All right, thank you.
I'm back. You know, that back
Could you
door.
just state your name and address for the record?
Don't you know me by now?
Well, we do,
Beverly
but pretty
Casper.
different.
That back door should be open at every council meeting, and it shouldn't be one person's obligation to see that it's open. That's for disabled people. You don't see disabled people here. Why? It's hard to get into the building. Please make sure that door is open at every council meeting. Lock it after a half hour. But make sure it is open. But I think you know why I'm here again. We have had 3 nor'easters in less than 14 days. If any of you tried to get home last Friday night, you saw what the storm did. Wires down, the police were there. It was a frightening thing. You had to be very innovative to get home, but I made it. Yeah, the old lady was out late. Maybe I would take marijuana to calm me down. But let me give you a neighborhood update. Jersey Central Power and Light. I was here about streetlights. I understand that one of the council people took to heart. They put a brand new one up on Smith Road. Mine has still been out for months. You need to have a plan with Jersey Central Power and Light to check on these streetlights. They're important. 2 weeks ago, I spoke about streetlights, and like I said, mine's out. Snow update. Lots of shoveling. But did you know there are still sidewalks and fire hydrants that are not shoveled out? Why not? The attitude is nobody enforces it. Yeah, it's enforced selectively, but these people are thumbing their nose at it. However, I want to thank a volunteer that came to, I did my walk. Little by little, I did the walk to my house, but I couldn't do the fire hydrant and the opening to the driveway because the town hires people who come down 60 miles an hour down the street and everything goes flying up in the air. It's got salt in it. It hardens. A volunteer came to me, and I appreciate what that young man did. It wasn't Nick, it was another one. He really helped me. You know, the fine for not cleaning your sidewalk and your fire hydrant is $1,200 a day. And if you are not lucky, well, if you are lucky enough to have both of them, $2,400 a day fine hanging over your heads. Ladies and gentlemen, that's inexcusable. Most of the towns around here only have a $75 a day fine. $2,400? That is leaving whoever has that house open to some neighborhood vendettas if a neighbor doesn't like them. It opens up terrible things. That fire hydrant is not for that individual whose lot it's on. It's there for surrounding houses. And you've heard me point out that every one of those homes surrounding that fire hydrant gets a rebate on their homeowners because of the proximity. That's nice. They get money and I get the work. Mr. Shovel is so tired, but he does a good job. I do too. You know, I'm not a kid. Imagine me out there shoveling. Don't any of you feel sorry for me? I'm not getting any younger. But the fine is excessive. And surrounding towns, like I said, are around $75 a day. But if there are sidewalks now and fire hydrants on homes that are not plowed out, there should be some accountability because these people have an attitude and they say it. We took a heavy hit this time. We were lucky. I was lucky. Thank God I had electricity. You had warming stations. I understand that the Temple Beth Am had services here Friday night. That was very
30
gracious
seconds.
of you. Excuse me?
30 seconds left.
How much?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well, I've ripped into you again. I'm tired of coming here to talk about the same thing. Have you made your feelings clear to me that you're not going to do anything about it? I've been coming here for years. Please, lower that fine. I think the state had a mandate. I think Ms. Sandman gave me something from the state about 2 years ago that it was supposed to be lowered to $75. You haven't done it. I shouldn't have to live in fear. I can't go away. Isn't that awful? I'm chained to that. Sorry, I can't fit my tongue. Please, in one of your meetings, one or two of you, please take heed and lower that fine on the ordinances. Do something about it. And the volunteers, give them a citation give them one every season. You know who they are. You know, they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, and you probably don't even give them insurance to cover their health if they hurt themselves doing it, which is another thing you should consider. Anyway, I came, I spoke, and I know I'm going home to the same situation. Why don't you make an old lady happy? Please?
Can I address the streetlight?
Yes.
Last meeting, it was me who has taken your streetlight situation to heart. The last meeting, I reported that we have had multiple meetings, one with the town engineer and one with JCP&L's community liaison. That person is retiring within the next couple of days, and we've been hit with 3 nor'easters. And so you should know.
They put the new light on its
I
road and
have
why
made
is
a
it
note.
out?
So you should also know that on my stretch between here and home, once you go over the Route 80 overpass all the way up to Allentown Road, that entire string of lights is out prior to any nor'easter. So when we met with the community liaison, I pointed out your light is out and our string of lights is out, and I was assured at the time that give them 3 days they would be fixed. That was now more than a month ago. We have been inundated with the electrical power situation, and so this has not been a priority, but I assure you I am on it because I'm in exactly the same position and I work.
But they put the new one up and they couldn't put a bulb in mine. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. I can tell you what they did tell me is there is currently no system for proactively checking to see that the lights are on, that they are only reactive. That's the face that I gave them. It's this, for those of you who can't see. So we are working with a new contact at JCP&L. I am on it, and I will be as hawkish as I can be.
The wire that they have replaced on Reynolds Avenue is hanging awful low. If any of you have taken a ride, it was one of the long wires they replaced.
Barbara,
If
can
an
you tell me?
18-wheeler comes
Can you
down,
tell me your?
even though it's illegal, they're going to take down that wire. That wire's hanging too low.
What's your address again?
Across from the nursing home.
Can you
what's my
be
address?
more specific? Yeah. Your address. Your address.
36 Normandy.
36. Okay. I'm on it.
Council
you.
President, it would be
Yes.
appropriate if we reviewed the amount of that fine for that ordinance.
I've just been speaking with the attorney, and I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, we can review that. Concerning streetlights, I don't smoke in the house, but I go for my cigar walks around the block, and when I do see a streetlight out, I just call in the telephone pole number to JCP&L, and eventually they come out and fix it.
They have 2 bands on those poles. First of all, in case you haven't noticed, I'm short, so I can't read them that easily. And my little bands have been up 50 years. They're corroded. They have to put better signage on the posts so that we can help them do what they have to do. But to completely ignore it, it's ridiculous.
Oh,
Go
you
on
know
that
what? I have
curb.
one other thing that came out of that meeting that I forgot to mention. After meeting with the JCP&L representative, the mayor's office did put a button on the homepage of parsippany.net to report an out streetlight. So now you can click that button and it'll take you directly to the form. So that was something that came out of that meeting that the mayor's office did accomplish. So now that at least you don't, because what I did was the person from JCP&L said, oh, you just reported on our website. So I sat there with him and I tried to report it, and he was like, oh, well, not that.
Did you put my house number?
I didn't have your address. Now I have it. Point being, it was not as easy as he even thought that it was, and so sitting there and going through the process with him was embarrassing for him, and I was glad of that. But what we did was we found the terminal link in their website, and now there's a link directly from the homepage of parsippany.net to their terminal link where you can report it.
I was at Duval where it turns before Dunkirk. There's a very dark area. Unfortunately, my lifestyle, I keep different hours than most of you. And I'm coming home after dark. And cars are parking on both sides of the street. And many years ago, I found out that our street widths were shorted 8 feet when we still had the bonds for the builder, when we had a civic association. And you can't correct that. But you can do the best you can so accidents don't happen. Or drive people to use marijuana. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Rosenthal, Mars Plains. That's where Craftsman Farms is located, by the way. I was watching Drive New Jersey and did a great segment. Located in Mars Plains is Craftsman Farms. I've been talking about this for 40 years. This is my opening thing at the beginning of every year. I'd like to live in Parsippany. Before I get started, with the marijuana, you go any liquor store Friday night, people are loading carts out of liquor, but you take one hit, you go to jail. Come on. But you have to do what you have to do because it's politically correct. Wait till the government does something and then do whatever you do. The other thing, I got to tell you something. The reason I'm up is with the light. About 2 years ago, Fios was putting in cable, and they cut the light, the light to my street light. I called up JCP&L. They came out 2 days later to change the light. And then I called back, it didn't work. And they says, oh, we'll have to have somebody come out. And they found out the wire was cut. When is that going to be replaced? Well, we have to do an evaluation with Fios, ... And a week, 2 weeks went by, 3 weeks went by. What's happening? Well, we have to do an evaluation, and we're going to see it, and we're going to make a decision. Another week went by. But the end of the story is, it took 6 weeks. I'm getting generic responses. Finally, I called up, got a number, and I said, I want to speak to a supervisor. I was speaking to somebody in Arizona who was picking up the phone. I said, I'm not getting off the phone. I want a supervisor. So they gave me a number, and I called over here in Dover, I think it was. And the fellow answered the phone, and the first thing he said, how'd you get my number? I said, my light's been out for 6 months. When are you going to replace it? He gave me the generic. We always have to understand it with a lot of work orders, et cetera, et cetera. I said, that's a generic response. When are you going to get to it? Well, you have to understand. I said, no, I don't understand. All the other people are waiting a year now. I'm going to be behind them 6 months. I said, I tell you what I'm going to do. Starting tomorrow, I'll call you tomorrow. And 3 days from now, it will be on Facebook and it will be on YouTube. That's effective, by the way. I did this before. Somebody didn't perform a contractor didn't perform. I said, you don't come over here. You're on Facebook. You're on YouTube. He came over that day. 3 days later, they repaired my light. Now, what they hide behind the name of Jersey Central, in reporting, they're the 5 W's. One is a what, that's Jersey Central. The next thing you have to get is the who. Who is the guy that made the decision? When it was down on Halsey Road, it was only after it appeared in the paper. Somebody said, well, do something. It appeared in the paper. It came out 2 days later. Somebody made a decision not to come out. Who was the guy at Jersey Central? Every time you say Jersey Central, they're hiding behind the anonymity of the name Jersey Central. When you talk to a representative, the spokesperson is nobody. They get a script, they read the script. Although the lights will be assured, da-da-da-da. I have a friend in Randolph just now who was telling me the first day the lights will be stored tomorrow, that's at 5:30. It wasn't. Gets on the phone again, lights will be restored tomorrow at 5:30. He said for 4 days he gets the same recording or person responding. He said, I would have gone to the hotel earlier, freezing. You have to get the name of the person. Don't let them hide behind the name of Jersey Central. Who was the person? You didn't see it on television. Early on, they had reporters going out, and they spoke to a few of the mayors of the towns. And they said, we had trucks here from Ohio and South Carolina, different towns. They had nothing to do because they didn't have the assignment. These guys are working, they're killing themselves, and they're doing a great job in the town. But who was the management of Jersey Central that that didn't give them an assignment? A truck comes in from Ohio, drives to Ohio, and they don't know what they're going to do by the time they get here. For 3 days, they're sitting or they're traveling, and they don't know what to do because management didn't do it. When you deal with these companies, you get the name. Don't accept the fact that Jersey Central. You're letting them get away with it. Who is the middle management that didn't give the assignment? Who is the middle management that said, let Halsey Road wait? I don't live on Halsey Road, by the way. And the other thing we ought to think and consider somewhere down the line is start to bury the lines. Do the streets that can be buried. We in Powder Mill is underground. We had no problem with electric. I mean, other areas, the poles came down. It's a long, involved, we got hundreds of miles here, thousands around here, but certainly at least 100 miles. At least start 1 mile, 2 miles of those streets, and let's start to bury it. Don't create an issue. Whoever doesn't want it, street doesn't want it, they go to the bottom of the list. Pick the streets that you can do it, the people want it, and go line by line by line.
30
We
seconds.
brought in 10,000 men to New Jersey to do the work. Maybe Jersey Central with that individual who made the decision, and they're going to do a study. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I got it right here.
Rich, I know years ago, we had asked Jersey Central Power and Light about that, about putting the lines underground. They said the cost would be astronomical. There's no way they could do it.
But at this point now, it's all new construction is
Yeah.
underground, right?
Yes.
What if it cost 10,000 men
Yes.
to come into New Jersey?
Right.
From
No, you're right.
Ohio? I saw Ohio, Minnesota, Michigan, and South Carolina.
And I was told that someone that spoke to a crew from Michigan said that they were staying in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and then driving from there to here. So
And they had no assignment in this most recent storm?
they were, this person saw them up in the Byram area, and they said that they were putting them up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. That's where they were staying, so they had to drive from Scranton down to the Byram area to work.
Wasn't the problem also, I thought that because the trees were down,
Yeah.
the electric, Jersey Central
Well,
couldn't
you know,
have
it's
their men
kinda
there?
two things, you know, in some areas, the lines were down, that they had to clear, they couldn't clear the trees because the lines were
Lines
down,
were
and it
down,
was
so
sort
it
of
was a
like
double whammy. Okay.
yeah, cyclical type thing,
Yes.
yeah.
Back to what Mr. DiPiero mentioned earlier.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, that's, yeah, and I think they're working with Jersey Central Power and Light now, right? Yeah.
Okay, see no one else come up, entertain, oh, okay, good.
Pat Pataccia, 182 Hawkins Avenue. Just got a few things. One of them being Waterview. Just want to make sure, you know, when we let them start building and stuff, our planners go out and check and make sure everything, because I don't remember that wall that's near 46 being in those plans.
It's there. I asked the same question. It's there.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
you know,
it's there.
we should be real looking at that and make sure that,
It was in the plan.
yeah, it was? Yeah?
You know, I
In the
think-
beginning?
Yeah,
Mm,
when the
did it change?
planning board approved that plan.
Okay.
It didn't look that big on the plan.
Yeah, you know why?
Well, you know, this is why I say.
Pat, I think it's because when you see these plans, and we all saw those plans when they had the meetings at the Troy Hills School, I'm sorry, Parsippany Hills School, it was a flat drawing. You need to have an elevation.
Yeah, but
I believe.
even in their description, when they were describing it, they didn't
Yeah.
come
Tell
out
you
and
the
say
height,
that
how
wall was
high
going to
it
be there.
was.
They didn't point it
course.
out
Yeah,
to you
no,
or
I
anything.
didn't. Yeah, that was
So,
what-
you know, just, we got to start watching this. Didn't we do an ordinance just recently about checking on building criteria last year sometime?
No.
Not positive, but I thought we did. Okay. And if I can have answers to Resolution 22 and 24 and 4. Who's going to be made the Public Works person, Human Services,
That's,
22 human
Public-
resources?
The individuals-
Answer them at the end.
okay.
Yeah.
and, yeah, Human Services, the Public Works, and the Director of,
Human Services is.
what's her name is in there now? I don't know her name off the top of my head. In regards to the JCP&L and all of that, I'm probably going to be hated here. But I think as a society, as a whole, we want things done yesterday. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm retired that I kind of have a laid-back attitude a lot lately. But I think we expect a lot for companies that, you know, we're just this town alone, with how many people out, what's the next town, the next town. You know, we've got, you know, they don't have too many people working for them, so we have to give them, you know, I'm not saying everything's up and dandy. Yes, there need to be changes, but I do think we need patience too. And I'm not denouncing anything. I lost mine too for a little bit of time, but you know, it does happen, and you know, they were out there, they were working. And I would like to thank the departments too, because they did a great job, they really did. Town website. I had been looking at that the other day, and I have a problem with a business that's on my block that hasn't been very good following the ordinances either regarding the snow removal. And I discussed it with Tom Jones. And I had asked him if it was possible during these snowstorms that we do like a robocall. Big storm coming in, make sure you get out there and do this, you know, thing. And then he also suggested putting it up on the website as another means. And it was out on Focus too, but to just give that some thought that, you know, get out there to the people so that they do realize it. And I don't think anybody's been given that fine of $2,400 or whatever, because everybody I know just gets away with it. I don't know. And I think then, Aurora. I don't really know too much about what was being said here. I know that you guys voted on something a few weeks ago before I left for vacation. However, we don't know what happened in the closed meeting after you guys came out, and then the resolution was next week. So I think when you have something and you have a question regarding something that was told or said to you, that again, that should be in closed session and not be brought out into the public until everybody speaks to each other. And, you know, we don't start another war with, you know, things going on. Let's stop the bickering, let's stop the arguing, let's just get this settled. But let's not go announcing things unless we know exactly what we're talking about and that we can discuss it out front right from the beginning. That's all I ask.
Pat, speaking to the mic, please.
That's all I ask. Okay.
And then
Thank you.
resolution number 22 is Michelle Pacone, 23 is Jen Veely, and 24 is Greg Schneider.
100%.
The people that
Thank you.
are at the present
Figured I'd give you a
position
break, Ellen.
are continuing their positions.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one of the things when you're praising the people that did the plowing and the snow, and then you mentioned, Councilwoman Grignani mentioned the parks, parks and forestry. They didn't have lights. They didn't have heat in their building. But they went out and did everything, and then when they came back to darkness, and so, you know, even they weren't just.
Yes, actually, you had 9 seconds.
Oh. If I call Parks and Forestry, will they cut a tree uprooted from my house, but we can't get out there to cut it? Would that be something Parks and Forestry could come and do?
Call them
Okay.
and just see how it falls and from where it was, who planted it. But yeah,
It's not in the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be in the right of way in
Yeah.
order for them to
Right.
to move it. Really,
So
I mean
you and your
that's.
husband could push it a little bit. You know.
But you know, you
Right
can give
away.
them.
No, give them a call and tell them, you know, yeah.
Can't do that anymore.
Also, a lot of the Parks and Rec and the road department workers, they were without power themselves.
Yeah,
I was
and
talking
they're
to some of
home.
them
Yeah,
that
they-
night, so their families were home by themselves without power while they were out plowing our streets.
So they didn't have it where they were. They didn't have it when they went home, but they were in the trucks and they were
plowing our
doing a job.
streets. so.
And they did it. I won't say with maybe a smile on their face, but we had no complaints and from them, and they were, you know, out there just proud to do the job that they were doing. So they did do a good job.
Hi.
My name is Bonnie Graziano. I actually live in Fairhaven, New Jersey, and I did not plan on coming up here at all, but I cannot help but address this last issue because I have been a utility employee for 20 years. I'm not doing that now, I'm including the largest utility in the state here. And I just want to suggest that it might be more effective to actually file a complaint with the Board of Public Utilities. Not to belittle at all what council can do. But that really is the most effective way to get a utility to do something. And I do think it's awful what I'm hearing about JCP&L, and I know they can do better. There's something wrong in their system, and I think the Board of Public Utilities can actually do something. And that's all I have to say. I'm here to educate myself on other things, but since this came up and I feel like I know the answer, I felt compelled to come up here.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Can we know why you were here doing investigations?
No, I'm not a reporter or anything like that, but
I'm just
No.
curious what brought you here?
actually, I sent
That we
local.
can talk about. Okay, good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm